It's a bit of a weird day, isn't it? Because the weather isn't as hot as it has been, but we've cut this lavender back, not all of it, just enough to be able to get past up the path. And we've collected some of the flowers. We've left these on here for the bees for now, but we will prune these back to a proper shape. We've tied them all up, hung them up on this rafter, and the idea is that the gentle breeze that you hope for will dry these flowers out and we can use them. So we've got a cooler day. We've had a little bit of rain, not a huge amount, as usual. And all these yellow flowers are beginning to suddenly appear. And a few insects as well. I've no idea what this guy is. Lots of grasshoppers. And the weeds continue to protect our crops. And if we get closer into these guys here, I've got all kinds of squashes in here, melons, but we can start to see the yellow flowers. And the idea is we take out the taller weeds to expose the flowers to the pollinators. If you come around here, we've already harvested one, but here's the second tock of the season. So the first one the other day was, I'm just going to pull that out while I'm here. And this is another harvest for us. We'll talk about that in a second. But we're going to expand the vegetable garden, and you might think I'm crazy. So last year I created these beds, and we did have some squashes in these two, and I think I had peas in there. I can't quite remember, to be fair. Anyway, I've done nothing with them this year, and the last video showed you just how dry this area was, because obviously it's not getting any rain or any water, unlike the main veggie garden that you can see nice and green. Okay, but I want to use these beds now for a particular reason. I've been able to open up this area, and we want to make use of this space. So these beds haven't been touched at all this season, and you can see just how dry it is. So I want to create new growing spaces in these beds. And the first thing I wanted to do is to get some air into these guys. Now, there's a number of ways of doing that, and as you do it, you're also checking the soil. So in this particular bed, I just used this garden fork. It's quite heavy, and the tines of it are actually quite wide, but all I've done is put it into the ground and lifted the soil. Exactly the same principle as using a broad fork. But what I've noticed, if you listen carefully, you might hear it on the mic, that's quite hard. So it's telling me that I could have an issue with compaction. But I did that bed with this, and then I got a bit lazy, and I've figured out that I could use my pitchfork, because it's got more of a spike on the end and these are thinner. So it's literally a question of just going in and lifting it up. Now, as I was doing it, where I had beans in here before, I left the plants in the ground, and I'm just double checking to make sure that any roots like that are in fact dead. But as I go through other beds, I've come across something that I didn't really want to see. Now, we have a big issue here with crabgrass, and I put my fork into this, and as I put it up, I can feel something growing. So as I gently loosen the soil, I've got this. Root after root after root of crabgrass. Now, the problem with this, I'll show you these roots in a sec. If you look around at how dry this space is, it's very easy to think to yourself, everything's dead. But crabgrass isn't. Let's just take a couple of these roots. This is well and truly alive. All it's doing is it's waiting for a good drink of water, and then it's going to come back. And that's not what we want. So this crabgrass only happens in certain parts of the growing space. It seems to be just in this area here, but as its name suggests, it grows by spreading sideways. In the same way that a crab walks, it does it sideways, hence its name. You might know it as Bermuda grass in the US, but it's not something that I want in this area. The only way I can get rid of it is to dig it out. Now, all right, well, I know dig gardening, but sometimes you just don't have any choice, because you've got to, if you don't get this stuff out, you're going to have a problem. And the normal no dig bed prep won't kill this stuff off. Hello, Jack. You coming to help? So what I do here, I've gone back to using the garden fork. I'm not going down too deeply, just enough, because these roots don't stay or don't go down that far. But I do want to keep as much of the old roots of the other stuff in the ground. You see how that comes out? Look at it. It's awful stuff. Now if you look at that, that is the top part that's dried out, but the roots below just sitting there waiting. Evil stuff. So I need to get that out of there. So I'll crack on and do this. Not throughout the whole of this video. To show you again. Now the other thing you'll notice is this soil is quite light, because it's the part of the soil that it's the soil that remains from me creating this bed last year. And this crabgrass, look at how it goes. It's been allowed to just encroach into this area. But the soil itself, this is the compost that I put on. If I mix it in, you can see the original soil like that. Very sandy stuff. So it's got a good layer of compost from last year's application. So I will clear that out, and then I'll be able to start creating another bed. So we'll end up with 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm not just going to leave this like this and then plant into it. So obviously these beds won't look like this. I'm not going to plant straight into them. I need to do something else with it. So I'm going to be covering it, and then we're going to be applying some compost. We're going to go and have a look at another area now that we're going to expand, which is slightly different ground to this. Now for all of this to work, I need compost. And so by using the weeds here. I keep saying weeds and I keep saying don't say weeds. I weeded this bed with beans yesterday and we're getting a good crop. They're just coming in now. We mulch the beds in between. It's holding the moisture really well, and so what I've done is I've taken all the weeds out of this section here, and the same to the one just over there on your left. And we've been systematically going through the veggie patches or beds and collecting all of the weeds, because we need to be feeding our compost system. Now this is what we did yesterday. So we got all kinds of stuff in here. And these roots are from an old crop, but they'll rot down. It's a great green resource. These leaves are from kohlrabies, because yesterday we picked a couple of kohlrabies and made an alternative version of coleslaw. It's really nice. Anyway, this will rot down. So that's up to the top of this here. I've got a temperature of 100 degrees Fahrenheit, telling me that the pile is active. We'll just pull this. I'm just going to tilt this down so you get an idea of what we got in there. Now, that is looking on the sides quite dry. I need to get some moisture in there. There's a lot of green material, but there's quite a bit of brown as well. When I do pull weeds up, I'm not all that fussed about shaking off the soil because it's another brown material. And roots and everything go in here because it's all part of the process. There's some seeds there from some weeding we did yesterday. They will die off as the temperature rises in here. I'm going to keep adding to this. Any green material I can find. So grass, vegetable peelings, anything. Like I say, loads of videos on the channel on how to make it. And then towards the end of the summer, this will all get flipped over into there for its winter. And then I'll cover it with polystyrene blocks and leave the heat in there and let it do its thing. I've done that since being here and it's always worked well, so I'm not too worried about it, but I need that compost. So this is another new area. It's a bit breezy, so I'll try and do it without too much wind interference. But the idea is I'm going to leave a verge along here for the wildflowers to continue to grow. Two reasons: pollinators and also food for the birds, the seeds. But from about here, and we're going to go right the way across to this hump, over this hump, over to this fence line here, and then up and down. And what I'm going to do with that is create the same style of bed as the ones I've just been showing you. But the thing about this part of the ground is that it's not too hard because it's had no traffic on it. Is that with all this space here, I'm going to create lines, put down cardboard to stop any weed seeds from growing. There will be a lot of weed seeds in here. Create living pathways. It's exactly the same as what we've been doing in the main vegetable garden, but we're just going to repeat it over here with about the same size. So we're going to be doubling our whole growing space. Cardboard sheeting to stop any weeds growing, compost on the top, and then get planting. But I need the compost to keep feeding the plants during the growing season. So for now, I'm going to be bringing in green compost or green waste compost, which is what I've done in the past to give it a good solid base. I need to cut this grass down very close to the soil, and then we can get cracking. I will want to cover the soil with something to stop it from being damaged by the climate, because you don't want bare soil. So I will plant these beds with mustard seeds. So it's going to give me a green manure. they will germinate and grow on, and then they die back at the first frost. So we're looking around about November time, and that will give me another mulch to go straight on without me having to add any more. And then come the spring, with all the green materials and other things that we collect, we should have enough compost to carry on the process. So I'm going to crack on back over there to finish that next bed, get that ready, get it level, and then start with the cardboard and the compost layer, and then we'll be moving into this. So join us next week to see how much I get done.